What's going on, my Evercade reviews? My name is Evercade. Welcome to the channel. And today, I want to talk about a little theory. I've got a theory of why we've gotten so few PlayStation 1 games on the Evercade. Now, there are multiple layers to this, so sit back, relax, please have a nice little cup of tea, and we'll talk about it. So, my theory, to begin with, is obviously a lot of the big name games from the PS1 are obviously owned by companies that either don't support Evercade or probably never support Evercade, or in some cases supported Evercade but then obviously pulled support later on. Those companies include Sony Entertainment, who own like a majority of the big name not a majority, a lot of the big name PS1 games, like Ape Escape. That's never going to come. You know, you got stuff companies like Activision, who owns like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro Dragon. Those games will never come, especially with the remaster collections. And obviously you got Namco, who owns stuff like Ridge Racer and Tekken. That's very unlikely to come because obviously Namco ended their deal with Blaze earlier this year. And, well, you can also throw Square Enix into that. Square Enix obviously has Final Fantasy VII, the original version. None of them are on Evercade. I don't think we'll see any of those games on Evercade because, well, the companies obviously don't really have a reason to release them because obviously a lot of them are remastered and, yeah. But there's another reason, right? And this is actually a deeper reason, which a lot of people probably won't realise. I feel like one of the main reasons we haven't got many PlayStation 1 games on the Evercade yet is due to the original handheld. Now, this is nothing against the original handheld, but obviously the original handheld came out at a time where obviously we just wanted a little handheld, we wanted a new system, and it was like, oh, you know, this can play NES games, Sega Mega Drive, you know, this can play Game Boy, this can play all sorts. I mean, like basically a large range of devices, and PS1 was one of the devices, but we haven't really seen many PS1 games on Evercade to take full advantage of that. Some of the PS1 games we've seen include games like Hardcore 4x4, we have Actual Soccer, we have Worms Armageddon. You know, these aren't like that big games, they aren't really major draws for a lot of people. And there's only, like, from what I remember, what I read from Evercade info, it might be Evercade.info, obviously the fan site, maybe a little outdated now. They do say there's only 5 PlayStation games on Evercade, which is kind of disappointing. But then you got to realise there's some games on PS1 which we'll probably never get, and some of the ones we could get would probably cost Blaze an arm and a leg to actually secure. But if Blaze was able to get a new deal with Namco to get like Ridge Racer, Tekken, and I don't know, Klonoa, just some random games I know, then I'm sure Blaze would try and do it, but then you got to look into it deeper and like, would Namco benefit from selling them on Evercade? Would they want the money? Would the money be enough for them? And then you got to look at some more likely games that could come, like Resident Evil, the original Resident Evil, because obviously Capcom's now supporting Evercade. But would Capcom ever release that on a cartridge? Would Capcom ever allow it to be sold on a cartridge? Especially when you got all these remakes, all the Resident Evil remakes. So would it cut into their bottom line, or would they allow it? The problem with PS1 is obviously, as well, and this is another big problem, is the analog sticks, because with the PS1 a lot of the early games didn't have analogs, didn't allow analog stick use, so they didn't have analog sticks, and then they added analog sticks to the system, to the controller, and it obviously the Evercade VS controller doesn't have analog sticks, nor does the Evercade EXP or the original Evercade handheld. So having games where you need to use an analog stick to control certain aspects of the game would be kind of awkward and kind of hard to actually do. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it might slow down gameplay and slow down people's enjoyment of the actual game. Personally, I would like to see some more PlayStation 1 games. Some of the games I'd like to see is including the original Grand Theft Auto games like GTA, GTA 2 and GTA London. I'd also like to see, obviously, Resident Evil. I think it'd be nice if we could see Alone in the Dark, but obviously that would be a bit awkward because I'm pretty sure THQ Nordic now owns that franchise, so I think Blaze would have to go to THQ Nordic and get a deal with them, who's owned by Embracer Group. So, yeah. I also like to see the original Tomb Raider trilogy. You know, there's a lot of PS1 games that are actually really good and, you know, could actually be really good for Evercade. Problem is, obviously, not a good. Well, the problem is, would they run the original handheld? Which I don't think a lot of them will, because I remember Hardcore 4x4 wouldn't run on the Evercade if you didn't, or on the original handheld if you didn't have the software update to 2.0. So I kind of feel like since that handheld's now phased out, Blaze can start going like and get more power intense games, because the EXP and the VS are slightly more powerful than the handheld, so they are arguably the better systems to play the games on. But yeah, That's just my thoughts, guys. What do you think? Do you think that's the reason we haven't seen many PS1 games on Evercade? Hey, what PS1 games would you like to see on Evercade? You know, is there, or do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Leave that in the comments down below. You know. And do you think we're going to get Resident Evil on Evercade in the future? If not, fair play. If so, which one do you expect to see? Anyway, I've been Evercade. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm signing out. Peace.